I had always considered myself a woman of routine. Evenings were spent in the quiet solitude of my home, the hum of the television playing softly in the background as I sipped on a cup of chamomile tea. After years of life's twists and turns, I had come to appreciate the calm. Predictability had become my comfort. That evening was no different. Rain tapped against the windows in a rhythmic dance, filling the house with a soothing sound. I had just settled into my favorite armchair, a thick throw blanket draped over my legs. When I heard it, the front door creaked open. A jolt of alarm shot through me. I lived alone, and no one was expected to visit. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned toward the entrance, my mind racing with possibilities. Had I forgotten to lock the door? Was it the wind? Or worse, an intruder? Before I could move, a tall figure stepped inside. It took only a second to recognize him. Ethan, my neighbor's son. He looked as startled as I felt, his dark eyes widening the moment he saw me. "Oh God, Mrs. Lane, I'm so sorry." He took a hurried step back, his hand gripping the doorknob. I thought this was my house. Relief flooded my body, quickly followed by curiosity. I had known Ethan since he was a teenager, watching him grow from a lanky, awkward boy into a confident young man. His parents had been my neighbors for years, but they were away on vacation, leaving Ethan to house it. "Your house is next door, sweetheart," I said with a chuckle, my initial panic fading. He ran a hand through his damp hair, clearly embarrassed. I wasn't paying attention. The rain, the dark. I guess I just walked into the wrong place. I shook my head with amusement, motioning him inside. "Well, you're here now. No point in standing out in the rain. Come in. Let me get you a towel." He hesitated for a moment before stepping inside, closing the door behind him. Water dripped from his jacket, pooling onto my hardwood floor. I grabbed a towel from the linen closet and handed it to him, watching as he ruffled it through his hair, a sheepish grin on his face. "You must think I'm an idiot," he muttered. "Not at all," I reassured him. "It happens to the best of us." He laughed, the sound warm and easy. "I don't suppose I could trouble you for a cup of tea?" I was about to make one at home, but, well, I ended up here instead. I smiled, nodding toward the kitchen. I was just about to make another cup for myself. "Come sit." As I prepared the tea, I stole a glance at Ethan. He had taken off his wet jacket, revealing a fitted sweater that clung to his broad shoulders. I hadn't realized how much he had changed, how much he had grown. There was something different about him, something more mature. We sat at the kitchen table, steam rising between us. He wrapped his hands around the warm mug, exhaling softly. "I don't remember the last time I just sat and had tea with someone," he admitted. I raised an eyebrow. "No one special in your life?" He smirked, shaking his head. "Not anymore." I felt the small pang in my chest. I had known Ethan's parents well, and they often spoke about how their son had struggled with relationships. He had always been kind, intelligent, and charming. Yet, somehow, things never seemed to work out for him. "People don't really sit and talk anymore," he continued. "Everything's rushed. No one takes time to just be in the moment." I knew exactly what he meant. Life had a way of pulling people apart, making real conversations feel like a luxury. "Well," I said, sipping my tea, "you're in the right place for that." For the next hour, we talked. About nothing and everything. About his job, my quiet life, the books I loved, the places he wanted to visit. The conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter punctuating the spaces between words. At one point, he leaned forward, his eyes studying me. "You know Mrs. Lane." "Call me Anna," I interrupted. A slow smile spread across his lips. Hannah, you're different from most people I know. I tilted my head, intrigued. Oh, how so? You actually listen, he said simply. And you make people feel seen. Something in his voice made my breath hitch. I wasn't sure if it was the way he said it or the way he looked at me. But suddenly, the room felt warmer. The air heavier. I cleared my throat, breaking the moment. Well, I suppose that's just a skill that comes with age. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his gaze never leaving mine. I don't think it's about age. I think it's just you. My fingers tightened around my mug. The energy in the room had shifted, subtle, but undeniable. I stood up, needing to shake off whatever was coursing through me. It's getting late. You should probably. The power flickered, and then, darkness. A gust of wind howled outside, and I heard the unmistakable sound of a tree branch scraping against the window. Ethan stood as well, his silhouette barely visible in the dim glow of the candles I had on the counter. Looks like the storm knocked the power out, he murmured. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Just great. A beat of silence stretched between us. Then, unexpectedly, Ethan chuckled. What's so funny? I asked. Just how ridiculous this all is, he said. I walk into the Ron house, sit down for tea, and now we're stuck in the dark together. I couldn't help but laugh. It does sound like the start of a strange story. His voice was lower when he spoke again. Maybe one worth remembering. I swallowed, suddenly very aware of the tension crackling in the air. And then, before I could say another word, he took a step closer. For a moment, neither of us moved. The flickering candlelight cast shifting shadows across Ethan's face, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw, the warmth in his eyes. The storm raged outside, but inside, the only sound was the quiet rhythm of our breathing. I should have said something. I should have broken the tension, made a joke, turned away. Anything to return to the casual comfort of our conversation. But I didn't. Instead, I stood frozen as he took another step forward. Anna. His voice was softer now, almost hesitant. I forced a small laugh, trying to steady myself. This is ridiculous. You should. I don't want to leave just yet, he said, cutting me off gently. His words sent a ripple through me, unsettling and thrilling all at once. I had spent years convincing myself that life had settled into its final form, that my days of unexpected moments, of feeling something new, were long behind me. But here, standing in my dimly lit kitchen, with a young man looking at me, like I was the most fascinating thing in the world, I felt something stir inside me that I hadn't felt in a long, long time. This is crazy, I murmured, more to myself than to him. Maybe, he admitted, a small smile playing at his lips. But it doesn't feel wrong. I opened my mouth to argue, to remind him of the years between us, of the expectations that came with them. But then, he reached for my hand. It was such a simple gesture, yet it sent a rush of heat through me. His fingers were warm, steady, rounding. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. Instead, I let him hold my hand, let the silence stretch between us as something unspoken passed through the space. You're overthinking, he said, his thumb brushing lightly over my knuckles. Can you blame me? I whispered. No, he admitted. But I don't think this moment cares about what makes sense. I let out a shaky breath. Ethan, whatever this is, it's not supposed to happen. His grip on my hand tightened slightly. Says who? I swallowed hard. Everyone. Society. Common sense. His smile widened, and there was something mischievous in his eyes. Since when do you